because we know that the next gen is way too finicky with aero if it's a one groove track. But then I made the point that
for sure,
yes, one groove tracks expose the next gen, but you could argue that the next gen is just exposing the one groove tracks. So
I don't know, but I don't know that one groove tracks are bad.
This car is not a good product. Like, that's just my. Yeah. We never had a bad. I don't remember anybody talking bad about Martinsville until this car came around. Has the Xfinity races ever been dull there? No. Truck races, I wish we raced them every weekend there. Like, I absolutely love this track. Well, you can modify any other freaking track to still modify Martinsville. I'm wearing a shirt. I'm going there this weekend. We're not touching it. We got late
I'm
models
anxious
there
to see the
weekend.
late models there. I think it's gonna be good.
Like, and they have it all day Friday too. But I'm only going down Saturday. But they fight, man. The last year I think they had 4 fights in the heats qualifiers and people wrecking each other for wins and stuff. It's just like that one groove, hard to pass. Kind of frustrates people. This is the track where, like, the whole Denny Hamlin versus Chase Elliott deal, that wouldn't have happened if it was like a multi-groove track.
Probably. Well, and I guess I'll go further to defend Martinsville, because I think my biggest issue is with the next gen. You almost need to be a 3-groove track to be good, because Martinsville kind of is a 2-groove track, as weird as that statement sounds.
And I hate it when it is too.
Yeah, well, but I think there's a lot of good races that have happened at Martinsville when it was like a 1.5 or a 2-groove, because you could at least poke.
You could poke.
You could run up mid and dive exit to try to.
But the 90s, when you would just, like, if you were second and you got out of line, you would fall back to 20th, and then you're trying to butt in and people get pissed and you're moving you out of the way. It's like rough,
Yeah,
it's just different.
I kind of like the dual groove thing. So the problem is, like, to me right now, Martinsville is a 2-groove track, in my opinion, just from what we see out of the Xfinity races and the truck races. And it still sucks with the Cup car. And I think, and I mean, you see this on road courses, you see this on Phoenix. I mean, Phoenix is another fantastic example, because Phoenix is a 5-groove track, and you still can't get out of the way of the bad air. So it's I like the point. I think it's a good point, but I don't know that it applies hard enough to affect the track, because I think you just need so many usable racing grooves to make the next gen good. Because even so, the little bit of highlights I saw from last night versus Friday night, and we'll get into Friday night quickly, you still couldn't stay anywhere near as tight with the Cup car as you could with the Xfinity car because of the dirty air. Like, I saw the one pass, Larson was low, and Hamlin, he just blocked him. All Hamlin did was come from mid to bottom, and then Larson lost 6 car lengths because of the air stuff. So it's like, I think the car is still, for me, the number one. Like, I would hate to touch a single racetrack without it, with what we're seeing, just because, like, I don't know. It's still not there. Like, I think I don't know if that answers your question or your thoughts.
So you don't want to put in progressive banking at Martinsville. That's what you're telling me.
I do not. And there's a couple other tracks I'm totally game for it, because I am a fan of progressive banking. Like Homestead, how do you argue with it? I think it has done great work there. Charlotte's running progressive banking, Kansas, But I think you need to be intermediate-esque for progressive banking to really showcase. Now, one I would be really curious to see it at is Phoenix. I think...
Or even Richmond.
Absolutely.
Like I think that would suit, but you might as well, because that's what it was, I think, when they repaved it.
Well, and right now, I mean, here's a great thought. Like, if we wanted to try this as a litmus test, Nolan, I don't know that Richmond produces great racing for any series right now.
No.
So if we want to experiment with some stuff and rip off some pavement, let's start there. I'll sacrifice Richmond for your theory.
I will defend Richmond and say that it's a great facility, I feel.
It looks nice.
They even have like this auditorium, huge for like drivers' meetings. It's like a red carpet kind of deal. Like, they did a lot of like things around the track. It's kind of in the middle of like a city, not a city, but like in a busy area. But
it looks that way.
You can walk, like, if you're out of beer, you just walk across the street, go get it, and walk back, and then you can go tailgate. Like, it's
can't do that in Michigan.
No, well, no, you have to drive through yonder past the cow pastures and stuff. But like, yeah. So, but if we can try it there, that'd be cool. I wouldn't mind that.
I think so. That's my new response, Nolan. If we want to try the litmus test, let's start with Richmond and see what happens.
And I know you're good with Texas, right? You should do it there too.
I
just turn that into super speedway. I'm okay with that at this point.
I don't even know what.
Well, you know what? I like the truck and Xfinity race there. Every year, I feel like they put on an okay show.
Yeah, it's still not.
It's not
great,
what I like.
though. Like it's just yeah.
But it does, like, if it's just one date and it's the beginning of the year, I'll put up with it.
I think if you could. So Dale Jr. had an awesome idea, which was you could reshape the track to almost be Homestead-esque. And then you would still have that little bit of a weird gap, but you could kind of like oblong the front stretch. So it would only be like a couple feet gap between the grandstands and the front stretch. And basically just try to make Homestead 2.0 out of it.
I'm okay with that.
And which again would include progressive banking. So like that, because Texas is on life. Well, Texas was on life support 2 years ago. I think it's just dead. And before you murder the market, I think you've got to start throwing Hail Marys or something.
I don't know why they're so obsessed with the Texas market. I know there's a lot of people there. Texas is such a patriotic, like redneckish state, but we can never get fans to go to the races there.
Well, and I think the biggest...
NASCAR doesn't represent Texas? Is that... I
think the biggest beef is still the racing product. Look at what races sell out. The races that sell out are the ones that have good races.
Yeah, that's
like
it's
I mean, concept, look at us. We will drive to Darlington, South Carolina because it's an amazing track. Yeah. That's a 10-hour drive for us. So like I understand the market idea and I appreciate where they're going and I think there's something behind that. But you've got to have something for the fans to go see. Because if you make a banger of a track in the middle of nowhere, people will drive to go see it. And I think NASCAR puts so much emphasis on markets, they totally forget about what the racing product is. And I think Texas is probably example number one of that because you're right. That's the argument I hear every freaking time is market. And I'm like,
well, market it better. It's our figure out the race product situation. Do something.
You fix the track, fix the product, then hire the marketing team. Marketing team does not come first; they come second.
Yeah.
I have a question. Are there any tracks where the next gen does well, but then Xfinity and Truck Series do poorly?
I would say
no.
I think
that's my,
and that's a fair answer. I think in the interest of fairness, there's a couple that Cup is better. I don't know that Xfinity's bad, but I think Cup's better.
Name one.
I think Charlotte right now puts on a better next gen race than it does an Xfinity race, and it's not like Xfinity's bad.
Okay,
but I think
I could semi. Agree with that. No, but they're slow. They're so slow. But Xfinity's faster. I'm sitting there watching them on the backstretch. I'm like,
oh, they are.
What in the heck?
Now,
why looks like an Xfinity car?
Outside of Charlotte, I don't know that I have an answer because, the Kansas Cup race was fantastic. We talked about it last week. I thought that was a win. That was a good win for NASCAR. But I thought the Xfinity race was equally as good.
I know.
So, it's... Man, that's a valid question, but I think Charlotte is the only answer for me.
I asked this because I realized that, or at least I think I realized, that's why I was asking you guys to see if you could come up with anything. It seems like if the next gen actually does well, and the requirements for a good next gen oval race is basically you need multi-grooves because it's so aerosensitive. If you're down to one groove, it exposes the cars. But like I said, it also exposes the track in the sense that you might have other series that do well there, but I think you should ask the question. It's like, okay, while we have, I'm floating around on my screen. Sorry. While we have this next gen car and we're stuck with it, we might as well ask the question, like, which tracks could be maximalized or brought to a greater potential by expanding the way it is so that they have more grooves. Because what I found is that if the next gen does well, then so does every other series. I'm not saying there aren't tracks where other series do well and the next gen doesn't.
Right. And
all that to say, I feel like the next gen is a litmus test for, is this track at its max potential or not? And I think all the all the tracks with multi-groove, like variable banking, like Bristol, you see the best Xfinity races and stuff like that, and then the Cup cars excel well too. So when you look at a track that's like one groove and the next gen sucks at it, like, yeah, I don't think we should like settle for the next gen. I'm not too happy with it.
Sure.
It's not the best, but I think you should equally ask the question, can this track be enhanced by adding a second groove through progressive banking? And I think that should be asked at a lot of tracks. So like Michigan, certainly Texas, that one's a wash. I kind of joke about Martinsville because that's sort of like the most extreme example. I don't think maybe you should have like a bowl-shaped Martinsville.
I think it's good to have a mix of different varieties, and I think Martinsville fits that one groove, tough, bump and run. Same with Bristol, but Bristol becomes this hybrid 3-groove track sometimes. Martinsville could kind of still have that grit and grind. I don't know.
And
That's
North
my favorite track.
Wilkesboro
That's why I'm very anal about it.
There's only one man that ever ran the top successfully at Martinsville, and it's for half a lap.
That's actually true. He was the only one to have experiment with progressive banking, I guess, at Martinsville. That 4 degrees that they have on there.
The old watermelon banking.
Straight up and down.
Straight up and down.
And I think another thing to remember too is North Wilkesboro is probably in the same conversation.
We're not
ish as Martinsville, because I feel like Wilkesboro is only about a 2-groove track too, so I think it's probably on par with Martinsville.
That truck race was so good, dude.
Oh, it was incredible. And
I wish
again,
Xfinity was there.
Yep. So I think Richmond needs to be test number 1. Because a lot of times, like, sim is only going to prove so far. Like, iRacing's been a fantastic tool. So I think you have a decent idea, but I think you sacrifice the ugly daughter first. Isn't that a weird saying? So
that's the first time I've heard that.
Sorry, maybe I don't know what I heard that from.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, my bad. But I mean, legitimately, when was the last good Richmond race?
I enjoy racing there on iRacing, but that's just a bias.
As a driver. And
the virtual one.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to race at. I mean, it's great, late models and stuff, but I don't know. You're right. Something's wrong with it. Or I don't know what to do with it. I love how it's unique, but I don't know why it doesn't work. I wish it did. Because I like the configuration. Just wish it was more, move that guy, and I'm going to, you can't do that.
And I would blame the car more if we didn't see kind of how dull the Xfinity races are. And that's from
trucks. It's all 3.
Oh, the trucks were terrible there. Oh my gosh, they might have been worse than Cup.
You think it's just going too fast maybe for a short track? Because it doesn't seem like a short track anymore.
Something. I told you I was going to hit David's button at some point.
You did.
I did. Yeah, I knew I was going to get there.
Button.
No, I like it. Let's kill Richmond first.